This is my first interview for Who Are We Really? Episode 1, I guess we could say, with Mr. Massey Campos from Self-Evident Ministries. And basically, I'll be asking about his walk with God and how he's gotten so far. So, first, if you could tell me about your salvation testimony.
Sure. So I was a kid that grew up in church, was not a bad kid, didn't do drugs or none of that stuff, wasn't a drinker, none of those things. But as I got older, I got into the girl thing. And so obviously pursued that all the way through high school pretty heavily. I was going to college. And then when I turned about 19 or 20 years old, I went through this phase of depression. And I can't explain why, but it was a phase of depression that almost took me out. And so I started asking the Lord, if you're really real, you got to show me who you are. And I did not use nice words when I prayed that prayer. And so it was 2 days later after I prayed that, my mom was praying for me as well. And I just so thank my mom for that. Someone had called our house, and my father and I have the same name. And they said, hey, we're starting a church thing, and my parents are pastors. So they were looking for him. And so it was a young girl on the phone. My dad said, hey, they must be looking for you. It's a young woman. So they invited me to a church service that night. I got saved. The Lord totally rocked me. And I don't know, since that time, I just can't shut up about it. I go up street preach. I travel and preach all over the country. I just love God. This is what he did for me. So it's pretty much my story.
All right. So, how did your childhood influence your testimony?
I was rough. Having pastors for parents was cool, but I think when your parents put a lot of emphasis on one thing instead of another, like my dad will tell you, and I'm not speaking against him at all. We have a great relationship, my dad and I, but he was really focused on the church and focused on image. And so like we used to play in a family band. So I played a lot of that Mexican polka music. You know what I'm talking about. And I did that for years till I was about 15. And so we were kind of a treasure to him to go out and do that. And we kind of felt neglected a lot. So I just said, well, if they don't care, then I don't care. So that's kind of how my childhood was. But they were good parents. They were never like, you know, didn't provide or anything like that. They were mean sometimes, of course, like any parent. But no, good parents. I don't have anything bad to say about them. But I just felt like my parents put a lot more emphasis on church than the family. And I know this as being like I've been a pastor before. Like if you don't have a balance, your kids will end up resenting God, and that's what happened to me.
So, would you be able to describe how God has worked in your life since then?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like I said, when I got saved, I remember being somewhat discipled by a really good friend of mine. He's my brother. His name's Jake. I got saved because of this dude. And he had asked me, I think it was 2 weeks after my salvation, he said, do you want to go street preach? And I was like, what is that? And he said, we stand on a milk crate and we just tell people about Jesus. I was like, I don't know how to, I don't know the Bible, man. I read the thing. And he said, just tell them what Jesus did for you. You'll be fine. And I remember the first time I preached, it was at a fair, and 7 kids were around. So the milk crate that I was on, and all I remember was saying, I don't know what happened to me. All I know that this Jesus thing saved my life, and he wants to save you too. And all 7 of them that day repented of sin. It was like the coolest thing. And I knew, like at that moment, like I'll never not do this. I'm called to preach the gospel. I just knew it. And I'm so grateful because a lot of people in the faith don't even know what they're called to do. Even after being Christians 20 years, like they don't ever know what they're called to do. And the Lord put that on me right away. So that's how, and I've just seen miracle after miracle and having a ministry now and my kids.
Yeah, because one thing I've noticed, the reason I wanted to start doing interviews like this is because like there's a lot of people who they don't understand like the background of us.
Yeah.
And like there's so many different backgrounds, so many different ways that people like were reached through the gospel. And so I wanted to like just start out interviewing and getting the different perspectives.
Sure.
There's some people who were maybe not raised in a Christian home,
Yep.
and there's people who are fifth generation Christians.
Yeah.
And especially like there's pastors' kids, there's kids who weren't they were Christian family kids, but they weren't like
True.
pastors. And then there's the missionary kids as well. There's so many different backgrounds that you could talk about.
100%.
Different
I agree. I agree. Yeah. Totally.
So, what's a word of encouragement you could leave with the audience?
Great question. I think that I wish I'd have learned this early on that there's no substitute for prayer and reading scripture. There's none. You can go to every counselor, you can go to every mentor, whatever. There's no substitute for reading and for praying the scriptures. And the Bible actually says this in the book of Acts that those that were people perceived the disciples to be unlearned and ignorant men, but because of their wisdom, they knew that they'd been with Jesus. So spend time with Jesus, and that's what makes you mature. Anything outside of that is just knowledge. But if you spend time with Christ, he changes you from the inside out. So when you begin to preach to people or talk to people, there's a power with it because you spend time with God and it's his word. And I've never known the word not to be relevant to today. So every issue you have is in scripture. That's my word of encouragement. Stick with the Lord.
Thank you for doing this with me.
Absolutely. Thanks for asking. So cool. I'm the first. I'm first. All right. So you know. God bless you guys.